So hello, everyone. Welcome to our Tech Talks. The TESOL call us monthly Tech Talks. And our speakers here, Nabiha El-Khatib is going to introduce our speaker. My name is Nellie Deutsch, and I'll be in the background. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first Tech Talk in 2025. And we are very happy to have Mr. Parveen Kumar as our first presenter for this year. We are very looking forward to this webinar to give you a little bit of information about our speaker. He is an international presenter in the area of educational technology, specifically for communication skills, English language teaching and learning. He works in Tashkent, Uzbekistan, as the director of the Center for English Language and Communication at the American University of Technology. He is the founder of the EduSoMedia model of learning in higher education. And the government of India has awarded him 4 national awards for his educational podcasts. We are very happy to have you today, and we are looking forward to your Tech Talk.
Thank you. And when you say that you look forward, and when we get to hear Dr. Nelly saying that I'm in the background, so these are two extremes, to be honest, like that education has received. And I'm someone, I'm from India, I'm working in Uzbekistan, so it's a through the Silk Route, and I'm getting connected to the world through these conferences, these events. Like there's so many things happening around and through Dr. Nelly, of course. And I got connected to her through Dr. Ramesh Sharma. And then when we have got this kind of, I won't call it a brotherhood or sisterhood or a mentorhood, but this is a different kind of uh, coming together where we try to deliberate. What I see is that we have got new things coming up from people, we have got old things packaged in a new way, and then modifications, manipulations, and everything we try to do. So now, when I proposed this topic, I remember that I used this term Skillgogy once in one of the call IS, and there was some other thing, and Dr. Nelly and some other participants also joined her. This is interesting. So the moment the word interesting came, I thought that let's try to bring it up as a concept. And I tried asking just to verify it to myself. Like I opened the OpenAI and then I said, please define skill goji. And then the reply was, sorry, I don't have much to say about it. And I said, Praveen, be delighted because today is going to be the first presentation. And I checked online also. Other than the post of TESOL IS, there's no other place where the hashtag skillgoji is available at present. So that gives a unique thing. The unique is because this is interest based section. And to be honest, I feel that when education survived because of the people who believed that they could move ahead and they could experiment with their little knowledge of computers to their finest knowledge of computers. So we are the saviors, maybe the front runners or the frontliners as we used to call ourselves. So when I got this term, I thought let it introduce to others and let's make a collaboration to develop this thing in a good way. I mean, in a way where we can probably relate it to EFL, of course, because that is all like our orientation is towards it. But when we talk about languages, I believe languages are like first is language is a conspiracy between two people. They try to convince each other. The second thing is a language is almost a science. The reason is we have got linguistics, we have got other things also in it. So when we are talking about today skill goji, and we are also trying to integrate it with education through social media, the purpose is going to be getting introduced, doing an attempt, which will be a collaborative attempt to try to define this particular term in a way. So skill goji, of course, it is coming out from pedagogy, andragogy, heutagogy. So that's how, I mean, everything is coming out of 26 letters in English. So it's coming out of it. Let's discuss, let's try to define. There are going to be limitations in it, like in a research paper or a thesis, we put it that I know there are limitations to it. The reason is it is being discussed for the first time, and we need certain assistance. We need to come together to redefine the gojis that we have been using. And of course, Language came first, grammar came later. I mean, we start using the language first at our home, and then we go to school and they teach us English grammar, be it Hindi grammar or any other language. So I believe such things that we define, the practices of innovative learning, they come first and we define them later. So when I say skill goji is something new, as a term it is new, but we have already been doing it. I mean, every single innovative teacher present today or not present today, every single person who knows about skills or not, every single person has been using skillgogy, but we just need to probably understand it, that it's an organized way of bringing up a .exe based education or instruction. When I say .exe, I mean, like it's not DMG also, like on you're using a MacBook, so that's DMG or it is APK or it is like EXE. It means I should have a skill that you can double click or right click and install. I should not have a skill that you cannot make use of. So that's what I mean by skills. Skill doesn't mean that I know music, but I'm applying for a football club manager job and they don't need music. So there it's not an installable software. So I'm going wrong. So we are talking about skill goji. First, a need-based skill orientation and crafting skills. Another one is an expectation-based. I mean, a teacher of English should have good pronunciation, should have maybe fluency, should have knowledge of grammar. That is a need which is there. But that expectation from a language teacher will be, particularly the English one, because English, I do have a question to ask from all of you later. But English is something which is a commodity. I mean, our professors, teachers told us that, Praveen, remember one thing, there will be a day when you people will be able to sell your knowledge of English. I mean, after these 20 years, when we did masters in 2003 to 5, I did it, and after 20 years I do see that I can sell English. But there is one thing about it: if my English is not executable for the employer or maybe for any user, then there's a problem. So how do I reach skill goji? I should be using the social media which is available to me at present. If we have got participants over here, we'll have some people on YouTube, and later on the same video will be watched. People will comment there, we'll be able to reply back. There are comments coming in the chat even now. So it means, I agree, it is not at all TikTok or Snapchat or Instagram or Telegram or WhatsApp or Facebook or Twitter or X. It is this chat. The moment I'm saying it and I'm getting a nod from you that yes, I know that you're saying this, we are making social media, the media used by the people who are social. So for my definition, I understand social media as any medium that we create, particularly on technological front, and we use it for being social, being interactive, creating a conversation, is social media. So that is one thing I would say, rather than saying that social media is only about this and Zoom is not social media. For me, it is a social media right now, because what is happening is an interaction. So all the platforms, all that is available to us in terms of technological connectivity, anything, be it media, be it any other tool we are using, I call it social media. And then using all those for education is the term that we started using around 12 years ago in India, which is education through social media. The term is EduSoMedia. So when you'll try to verify this term, you just need to type EduSoMedia and then you'll get some content on. To be honest, not some, but so much of content. The reason is I was not alone. I used the students. Now, the word used has come for the first time on my tongue in a way. I would say I worked with them, but I did use them. There was an ethical manipulation, to be honest. When they will see me saying this thing after 12 years, they will say that Praveen made a fool of them. I used them. Why? They did need it. They need a kind of orientation towards technology. The reason is, in India we have learned one thing. Like if I pick up a paper and I see that there is one line which is disturbing me, I cannot search for an eraser to remove the existence of it. I know it is there, so I need to create a bigger one. So if you want that generation which is around you, maybe that's alpha to beta to gamma, and I don't know what is going to happen to them. The millennials are the people talking to each other right now, worried about the generation alpha and beta. So if you wish to control someone and give them an alternative, that would be better rather than fighting the existence of technology. So social media, I cannot criticize it. The reason is I cannot stop using it either. So we cannot fight the existence of a knife just because people kill someone with a knife. So we need to teach the better use of it. So these are two things: education through social media. When we used it, we realized actually we have evolved, developed, and we have encountered, like, you get into a cave and suddenly you discover something. What I discovered was that it was not pedagogy, because the instruction, one way instruction, kind of result oriented instruction, the Bloom taxonomy, be it any way, had died the moment we started interaction with them. Then I thought andragogy is exciting. I learned about it. Andragogy is too good, that I see that people say adults learn this way. Agreed. But then we moved on from it because somehow something from Bloom was there in andragogy. So andragogy also got corrupted. Then we moved on to heutagogy. Heutagogy is when you give assignment to someone and it's a self-driven learning in which you self-learn. Like, there's a concept that I have been working on. I have loved it throughout my life. That is called Eklavyaism. Eklavya is a character in Mahabharata, the scripture, the epic that we believe in India. Now, Eklavya was denied the chance of learning from the mentor that he wanted, Dronacharya, because Dronacharya was a mentor to the princes, the family of king. So he said, Eklavya, you go away, I cannot teach you. What Eklavya did, that he made an idol or a statue of the teacher, and then he started practicing in front of it, and then he perfected himself. So I believe that open and distance learning is what I mean. That is something in which I try to learn by my own. That's what is happening. There was a time we will insist on students in terms of language also, that you go read your chapter, then come to the class. This is what I did when we didn't have internet. So we flipped the classroom. The flipped classroom is not something which came with technology. It was before the technology. During the technology, what happened was it was a self-driven pedagogy where they will know about the concept by chance. Maybe they are watching some reel, suddenly something came, they went to the lesson, the teacher is talking about the same stuff, and they say, we know about it. So what happens is the heutagogy again got corrupted for me. So when some part of all these three gojis came, I thought, let me start calling it something. So the word came that ultimately what is happening is, we need an incremental change in the students, not a change, an improvement based change. Ultimately, what you want is, there is one part of it, like when we talk about all these things, that a skill is not just that you buy from someone. Riding a bicycle can be a skill, maybe making good food, maybe gardening, maybe just walking can be a skill, fine. But every subject that we teach in the classrooms, one I'm teaching intercultural communication at present at the university. I'll be teaching public speaking later. Then I'll be teaching maybe English. I'll be teaching some other subject. So I insist that the mark sheet, the marks, the transcript as we call it, it has got 12 subjects. Suppose you have got 20 subjects in your 3 years, and then you say these are 20 subjects. What are my skills? I will say all these 20 subjects should be treated by you as your skill. The reason is, the students that we teach at present, they hide the transcript and they mention some other skills. Actually, the subjects that were taught, they are the skills. Be it calculus 1, then they go to maybe microeconomics, macroeconomics, then they talk about market analysis. Every single subject or a module, the title of it should be treated as a skill. That's how the skill Goji insists on. But the moment I label it, I mean, if I label some white substance as milk, I know that you will be using it for tea and coffee, and or maybe making some milk products. We need to label that methodology that we need to insist on. This labeling will force the newcomers into teaching to adopt, I mean, those things, because they already have that essence, that touch, that rationality is already there. I mean, you need to be innovative, otherwise they won't listen to you. And the attention span is also a question. The generation we are teaching, fortunately, unfortunately, is not the question. The fact is they have got a shorter attention span than us. The 30 minutes has come down to 9 to 10 minutes now. And then it may go to 3 minutes. And here, there's no search whose fault it is. You cannot keep on, cursing them and saying that you don't have attention. Now, the thing is, the patient is sick. I'm a doctor. I need to treat the patient. So the deal is only this one. How will I treat them and then again move them back to same 30 minutes. So the thing is, it's a reversal. Like you go, you find your patient, and then you treat them and you get them back. So that's the deal. So that's how social media can help, and it has helped me. Now I'm prescribing to myself first. Whenever I'm going to say something here to you, please don't think that I'm giving an instruction to anyone, even today or later on, whenever you watch this video. It's an instruction to myself first, and then I believe that I'll be able to make a kind of a partnership with many people, and then we'll try to find out something else. This is the abstract, the thing that I proposed when we sent our topics. I will just go through these red things. I mean, these are not the danger zones for me, but I will say that these are the attention spots. Expected is one part. I will say that we are moving because of expectations. Our English as a foreign language, English as a second language, English as just another language, or any other subjects teaching that we are talking about is is based on all expectations. I mean, we are probably not working on the needs anymore. We are working on what are the expectations. If they wish to have a course which is 3 weeks, we are designing a 3 week course. We have got TESOL post graduation, and we have got a TESOL of for certification also. So you can do something in 4 months, you can do something in 2 years. So it means they expect something. Like the need has turned into a package of expectation. I see it. The learners have become very active participants today, to be honest. I mean, this activity is a very passive activity. The reason is, like, I would smile at it with something which has got an irony into it. They have become active because they're curious to participate. So that is why that activity has happened. However, the knowledge base has decreased. But we are talking about the energy levels which are there if you can engage them. Integration of social media, all this thing will move on to Skillgogy, and it goes to EduSoMedia also. So this is something, a very fine design. I used something like these ideas to design it, and for me, it is a method of imparting skills. It is not about polytechniques, it is not about technical education, it is about every single subject that you teach. You should design it. The reason is believing with all confidence that there is a domain called Skillgogy, and you don't worry. You design your module, you design your curriculum, you design your activity, believing in yourself that skills are required to be imparted. Now, the the journey starts here. The poster that you all have seen, which is a wonderful poster designed by one of our very good hard working team member. I would say that the promo I will say 2025 has started on a very promising note. I may be the first one to present, but I believe that I would remain on that happy foundation with all of you. Education through social media, skill goji oriented, and then career oriented EFL, English as a foreign language we are talking about. Now, when I talk about this particular thing, this aspect, the 21st century, the approach to pedagogy, we are talking about teaching. So this is one thing. The reason is my friends in higher education will also mention pedagogy. However, scholars suggest that pedagogy is something which we have kept for the schooling. I mean, school education generally, for the secondary education. The the higher education aspect, they talk about andragogy. I believe so. So however, like in India, there is one thing, and there's a brand called Surf, or there's a brand called Ariel, like washing powder, maybe you know. So, and Colgate is one thing. So there will be a nomenclature that every toothpaste will be called Colgate. Get me some Colgate. So what exactly Colgate is? Any brand of it. So pedagogy is not the umbrella term for every teaching methodology. However, we have a habit of saying pedagogy. We can just go for an approach about teaching. So there's a demand and there is a shift required. And the shift has already happened. The webinar is happening in 2025. The shift already happened when we were facing the corona. The foundation for me of learning Skillgogy is the first book, which is at the center to mention. However, all three are equal to me. Teaching by Heart. I recommend this book to myself again and again. I carry it wherever I go. I mean, it's still there on the desktop's screen. It will be there as a printed form at home as well. So, Teaching by Heart is a very fine thing, which has got one part which is straight away in that introduction. It says, getting introduced to the best teaching. So our teachers, I mean the finest form of teaching, our students should get introduced to the finest form of teaching. How they will do it? When you try to give them something how would I define it? Sustainable education. I mean, it should stay with them. Our one of our colleagues, we call as happily the president of our university, says one thing, Professor Rick, that we should not create something like, we should not train them only for their first job. We should train them for the last job as well. I find it quite reasonable. I mean, the skills which are imparted in the school or colleges should be like those that remain with the people. So the skills should have kind of an upgrade in it. One book is Chingiz Aitmatov's book, Doishen, which is in Hindi. This book came as Pehla Adhyapak, translated by one of the finest legendary writers for us, Bhisham Sahani. They belong to literature. So Doishen, teaching by heart. And the third book which is there, which is in English as well as in Hindi, worth reading in Hindi, I read it in my native language, Divaswapan, A Divine Dream. These three books talk about engaging with the students and then teaching them in a natural way. Talk about the active learners. Who are active learners? Active learners are those people who are there in the classroom with you. Very simple, there's nothing much into it. So, and the new norm for active learners is you cannot fight with them, you cannot go against their understanding. However, you need not be afraid of them. But the new norm is something like, you make me a part of this learning. The teacher needs to go with the student and then understand how they want to learn and then develop something together, more sustainable, more participative, and more appreciated. The EFL context here: English as a foreign language. Is it a second language? Is it a foreign language? Is it a third language? In Uzbekistan, it's a third language, by the way. They know Uzbek, they know Russian, they're learning English. So I don't see English as a second language here. And now the foreign language. In India, we had the British people on a positive note, if we say it, I mean, without getting back to the history, we did have the British people, we did have English for more than 200 years. I mean, they stayed for those many years. After that, we did have these 75 years and more. So I think that for India, English does stay as a second or a first language. It doesn't feel like a foreign language. I mean, you know it far better than me. Anywhere you are in the world, we appreciate India because of one thing, because people feel it wonderful. They say, which language you speak? I say, I speak this one. And which language the South India like citizens will be speaking? I say they speak different languages and they are completely different than us. They said, how do you talk then? You are one country. Which is your national language? I say we go 20 plus. I mean, just on the currency, they are 20 plus. So English connects us. So English becomes a first language. English remains a foreign language. So it's a confusion. So it's a complex thing. I will treat English just as another language required for a particular maybe need, maybe business. So English is more of that thing for me. And there are world Englishes. I mean, there's not just British English anymore, maybe American English, Australian English, there may be Indian English, there is an Uzbek English. So there are Englishes in the world. So that is that understanding that we need to have. And probably that monopoly, I mean, of one side of the world to teach English has reduced a lot now. And English is that one language. I don't know, you may have heard that English brings the world together. It's a global language. I consider one thing, that the biggest benefit, if a part of the human, I mean, say population, which community has got the most benefit of English is, I will say, teachers have got, because this is one language that everywhere teachers of that particular country will be teaching. So it has created a kind of a collaboration between us. I found something about andragogy so that we can move on to understand skillgogy and EduSoMedia. So there are certain things that andragogy stands for. There are certain core adult learning principles, because there are principles, there are concepts, there are components, there is a process of learning. So I see that what learners need to know, the self concept, which is a self directed learning concept in the mind of the learner, is quite important. Prior experience of the learner is important. When I say adults, I do include the school children. The reason is, a child of maybe like fifth grade, fourth grade, they know about Instagram, they know about social media. And the same way, so the adult bar that you are 16, you are 18, only then you are that has reduced, and you can even call maybe a 10-year-old probably the same age. So that category is not about age, it is about the mindset and the exposure that we have. So the self-directed learning can happen in a fifth grader, it can happen in a 10th grader, it can happen in someone who's doing their PhD, it can happen in someone who's doing education even after 60 years of age. So prior experience can be anywhere. Readiness to learn is a primary part of this particular andragogy concept, the readiness to learn. Now, readiness is of two types. Number one, the inner motivation, which is very fragile these days. I don't know how many of you will accept it or not, but that fragile motivation is not something which is a primary concern. The need based motivation is required if the learner knows that this particular thing is going to benefit him or her in their career, in their earning bread and butter every day. I believe it's easy to teach them. So we have got a developmental task, we have got a life related significance of it in the readiness to learn concept. Orientation towards learning. I believe someone in Uzbekistan will be very happy to learn English as a foreign language or English as a career language, because the context is there are so many IT companies coming up here. The BPOs, the call center jobs, what do we call it, logistics. They're sitting here, they're managing the people in the US, and because it's cheap, the same happened to the Indian IT sector as well. When the BPO industry came, we had young guys going for the call center jobs. So it means there's a context of it. English as a foreign language, in terms of andragogy, adult learning depends on the context primarily. All other subjects also do. Problem centered learning. If you're teaching them something which will resolve, if you're teaching them Spanish and it will not resolve anything which is a problem or a challenge in the market, they won't be able to create a job. So EFL should be taught to them, keeping in mind that it is centered around a problem. The problem is they need more people to speak English, they have less people, so there is a challenge. Then the motivation to learn. Intrinsic value, I mean, that's a delight, that's a happiness. So for me, the motivation to learn in the classroom comes not by what the teacher is teaching me, it is how the teacher is teaching me and how the teacher is making me feel. So these two things happen, and the personal payoffs, maybe the rewards are required, maybe these rubrics that we are talking about, certifications, and all these things are required. So this pedagogy andragogy difference is something that the content is going all four ways. I mean, it goes to the learners, it comes back for the learners. So the content is just, I mean, to and fro from the learner. And in the pedagogy one, we see that the content goes to them. The learners don't have an impact on that content, which is a valid point. The reason is we consider now, when I'm saying pedagogy, I'm not rejecting it for the higher education and even for the school. If you feel for a particular subject or a concept in which you feel that they do not know something, it should just go to them, let it go to them. The moment on the same day, like you teach them mathematics on one day, the next day you're going to do the practice. You teach them tenses, maybe you're just talking about past participle on one day, or you're talking about something else one day, and the next day you go and do the practice. Now, isn't it a magical thing? One day it was pedagogy, another day it becomes andragogy. So this is what I'm saying. There's not just a juxtaposition of it. If we do play with the words, there is an amalgamation. There is a kind of a coming together of it. So the child leader, the pre-arranged learning, which is there in pedagogy, moves on to experience as a learning resource. And which experience is it? This experience was that happened yesterday. So all these gojis have always been happening together, at least as far as I remember. My teachers, without internet, with a blackboard and chalk, will be sitting on the ground and they will be teaching us once, they will be taking a test next day, they'll be asking us to make some models, there'll be an overhead projector or something, we call them transparencies. So all these gojis used to happen together. This is another interesting thing that I found about the adult learner concept that I won't explain. I mean, it in the same way as I did the other part. But if I see it here, you see the elements of andragogy in which I'm talking. The most interesting segment in all this, I will, if I come to this, I will not talk about designing lesson plans, setting the objectives, diagnosis of needs, and then I'll move on to probably the climate and planning. Now, the climate is not the climate change climate. The climate is the vibe which is there in the classroom, which is something like when you look at the kindergarten classrooms, you look at the school classrooms, they're colorful. Language is learned by putting the props in the classes. So when you teach in higher education, you make the classroom so dull. I mean, it's just like something like it's about dead minds. So the higher education classrooms do not consider that the child is always alive in the mind of a learner. The day the child is no more in the mind of the learner, the learner stops learning. So you cannot learn after that particular day when you start feeling that you're no more a child, because the child is the one who learns. I mean, the mind of a child is having the basic and the fundamental curiosity, as well as the acceptance is also there. So I believe that the climate and the planning that you do, the lesson planning, I mean, in which you put up activities and everything, means a lot in terms of andragogy. Pedagogy andragogy difference: problem centered approach is andragogy, and a structured curriculum in which the pre-arranged activities is pedagogy. Now, pre-arranged activities are required, but the coating, the packaging, the color in it should be andragogy. The moment the teacher is able to accept this P and A coming together, it becomes heutagogy. The reason is, I was someone who was a dictator. Then my students made me smile. The moment they made me smile, I say, okay, fine. I consider you people are mature enough. Let me design things based on your level, rather than believing in only my, belief that grade 6 student will be learning by this way, and every year I repeat the same. Another understanding that I got in this journey till 2024, since the time I started teaching, if I have said that I've got 17 years of experience in teaching, it should not be, my dear friends, 1 year experience repeated 16 times. It should be 17 years of experience, which is actually 17 years incremental kind of experience. So heutagogy is that thing. When you mix up pedagogy and andragogy, it is possible for us to derive something which is about capable people, creative people, and people who are self-determined, who are self-assessed, who are self-aware, and who are probably self-motivated also. So learners, like, they do some connection with you, you design some activities for them, and then you get outcomes, and the outcomes also, move on into activities. So this is how things happen in andragogy. They happen in this, they happen in this. So this is what is happening now. That is one part. Now, this is one part about heutagogy. Learner: explore, create, collaborate, connect, reflect, and share. I mean, we can even end the session right now. You know that this is something that you have always been doing all your life. All good teachers, be it 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, 5,000 years ago, or just 5 hours ago, they have been doing all these things only. They create, they collaborate, they connect with all good people who can contribute. They start reflecting, thinking. This slide, this presentation, if I come to this one, you know 7 minutes before we started the session, I added this particular line: the second foreign or just another language. I mean, I kept reflecting on this presentation for the whole day. Which particular place can have what color, what size of the font? This is what I would say, that we people are what? We are working on heterogogic elements, but we have been trained by pedagogy and andragogy. Pedagogy school, andragogy university, college, higher education. And andragogy is something which was also there when you used to go for the tutor classes or special coaching or something. They will not teach you as school, they will be teaching you as if you know things. So this is one thing about heutagogy. Heutagogy is a self-driven learning. Pedagogy is instruction-based learning, which is pre-arranged activities in curriculum. Andragogy is teaching adult learners, keeping in mind that they have got a previous knowledge. However, if I repeat it, the previous knowledge is always there with the school children also. So andragogy does have some presence over there. Now, something from India. Nai Talim by Mahatma Gandhi. Now, he was an advocate. He was someone who spread this, and even now, Wardha, which is a school there. So Wardha is the place which is considered as the karma bhumi for Mahatma Gandhi's educational experiments. If you search for Nai Talim, you will find some school there. Now, Sonam Wangchuk, who is another educationist, innovative person from India, was there. So he was also talking about it. You want to teach someone like gardening, give them a shovel or maybe some tool, and then let them go and dig the earth, the soil, and then put a seed and see it. That is, we call it experiential learning. That was what Mahatma Gandhi believed in. That nai talim means new education. Talim is a word which is common in the Central Asian, South Asian region for education, and nai means new. Vocational efficiency is required. Now I'm reading these components that you will say this is always there around the world. I mean, the moment we talk about innovation, the moment we talk about career oriented education, we talk about this vocational efficiency, cultural development, in which, like, you know about the culture of other countries, other people, or maybe you know your culture in a better way. Spiritual development doesn't mean you become a saint, you start meditation right in the classroom, but this spiritual, I call it something in which you become more accommodating for other religions, other belief systems, other communities, the gender, something. It character development doesn't mean that you put a stop on your choices, but character development here may mean something in which people can trust you. I mean, that can be one part here. Then I move on to the three H's: hand, head, and heart. This is Mahatma Gandhi said it. And then I relate it to all three. I find it the same. All good people talk the same stuff. All good religions, all good teachers talk the same thing. It's up to you and me whether you study at one place, you will find the same thing is taught at another good place, be it EFL taught anywhere in the world. So, hand, head, and heart. Language teaching is completely based on it. Hand doesn't mean that you mean, you become a chef and you cook something, today I have created ABCD and tomorrow you do this. But you need to involve yourself in it. You need to do activities and start talking about it. There's an activity which is not in the context of the presentation. Students come to me, like here in Uzbekistan, they'll say, how to improve our speaking or something. I'll say, start talking to yourself. They say, my parents will consider me crazy. I'll say, agreed. They will do. I mean, this is how it is supposed to be. But okay, let me pick up a pencil. I need not start the room heating. Yeah, there's a sketch pen here. Yeah, there's a writing pad here. Yeah, there's a watch here. The moment you start talking to yourself this way, this self-talk adds to your language learning. And if you cannot speak about the things which are around you, it will never be possible to speak about the things that you cannot see. So the primary thing for EFL classroom in the school remains still now, that every single thing which you can see, you should know how to say it in English. If you cannot do that, you'll be stuck anyway. I mean, knowing something which is not in the context doesn't make you a good speaker. Someone is talking about maybe apple and you know something about banana, so doesn't mean that you don't know the word apple but you know banana, so you get one, that I know one English word. No. So hand is what I mean to say, that you keep on moving your hand, keep it handy. Like if I pick up this and I say, what is this? I don't know. We call it chashma, we call it something. And you're stuck. The moment you're stuck, the pressure on the mind pushes you to recall the word if you have it. So the passive vocabulary becomes active vocabulary, but it becomes only when you put your hand, head, and heart together. Now, work education is master classes, maybe pottery. In India, when we do Bachelor of Education to the teachers training, as people get a diploma for teaching, they get a work education compulsory thing. Now, what happened? The alternative education of Mahatma Gandhi's concept was brought into mainstream, and then every student has to take one subject which is about work education, where either you will learn pottery, like what we used to do with the soil or something, will draw something, or you take this or you take that. Should be there craft based education. The student should be inculcated with desirable values. Now, desirable values do not mean every value of culture. So whatever they need to know should be given to them. The moral values of righteousness, integrity, self-restraint. Self-restraint is about critical thinking. It is about when to shout and when not to shout. The smart person these days is not the one who speaks. The smart person is the one who knows when to go silent. So the self-restraint is also something that we need to teach. but we teach it in a different way now. I mean, we have labeled it with another skill, but it has always been there. I'm talking about 100 years ago. Now, self realization should be the ultimate goal of education. Self realization is not about, again, becoming a saint. It is about that English as a foreign language, I should not deviate from the context, but I will still deviate intentionally. The reason is the language teachers do have the right to deviate the way they want to. I say this thing because I teach English or because I teach language, I'm free. I mean, I can talk about sciences, I can talk about any particular thing in the world. So, when you prepare yourself for a lecture or a lesson in andragogy, pedagogy, heutagogy, or skillgogy now, the self realization is not about, in a way, who am I? I am a soul or something. It is that you prepared for seven things and you're able to deliver the seven things. So that is what realizing the prepared self of you. You come back from home after teaching English, you are a normal father, you talk in the same language which is at home. So self realization in the classroom we are talking about, in the examination we are talking about, at the workplace we are talking about. So this is the self realization. Now I hope you agree that these gojis and this nai talim, or you find it something else, all these concepts, they have been hinting that the human being should have a sustainability, not the 17 SDGs, but the human being in person. Like, I should be sustainable, where I can be a good friend, I should be a good teacher, I should be a good teammate, I should be a good team leader, I should also be a good presenter. And how will I become a good presenter? So let me this is Canva. I hope you all know. So here is one feature from Canva. Oh, Canva. Where is the feature? Yes, this is Canva, and Canva has a feature, and the feature goes like this. One feature. Canva has another one. Oh, I got it this way. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you the next slide. I did it. So another one is something like what was there? Yeah. And now it is not the time to conclude the section or something like this particular thing. But shh, listen to me. I'm not deviating. I'm still here. But let's move on. Now this is again the same thing in some kind of boxes. Now comes the new things. Skillgogy, Bloom taxonomy, murdered, killed, modified, helped, I don't know, but still it is there. So then I'm talking about this particular thing. Remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, create, evaluate, analyze, apply, understand, remember. I don't know what sequence I should follow, Um like there is something in it that if you don't tell me that I should fear something, I may not fear it. So I don't know from which direction I should read it. I mean, the Bloom taxonomy came and I started reading from this side or this side, so reversal happened. For me, the sequence is that I should pick up something for Skillgogy from Bloom taxonomy so that I keep crediting it for getting introduced to Gojis and something. Create, analyze, understand. It will go as understand, analyze, and create, or it goes as create, analyze, and understand. For me, you create something, then you analyze it. When you're analyzing it, in the analysis, you will be doing comparisons, experimentations, tests, and all. And then the moment you do analysis of it, and then it means you are going to understand it. This is a self-driven learning. Create. I created the presentation, ladies and gentlemen. Then I analyzed it. When I was analyzing it, I was doing a self analysis, self assessment based on the skills, the previous knowledge that I have, the experience I have, given by mentors, given by colleagues, given by students. While doing this analysis, I could experiment and apply and everything. And the moment you apply things, you analyze things, you do correction, you understand it. So, this one, two, three, I remember in a research paper on podcasting or educational technology tools, this Bloom taxonomy kind of a modification was suggested. So I took a screenshot from the same research paper and brought it here. That a modification in Bloom taxonomy, create, analyze, and understand, is something that teachers need to follow. And when we talk about Skillgogy, and heterogogy, we need to know that language, in terms of language, particularly English, English is a self-taught language. You can perfect yourself when you try to practice with yourself or with the people and the place you decide. So you need to create your speech, you need to analyze your speech, and then you need to understand the way you can improve it. So this is one part here. Skillgogy defined here. It emphasizes on development of practical skills through experiential learning. Social media should be leveraged by us. We create a dynamic learning experience into it, and every single thing that you do, I don't know, it will benefit computer science or social sciences or something, but the finest benefit of technology that any domain of learning can have, that is English language learning. Why I'm saying English language? Because English represents a language that people ask for. If people ask for Hindi, people ask for Urdu, people ask for Spanish, German, then it means that language takes the advantage of every single thing. Now, this is the taxonomy that I'm suggesting. I'm not ordering them. I'll be asking you to help me out today or later in the comments on YouTube, wherever you wish to, or even now. These are the components that I have brought to Skillgogy component, and then the process also. Now, this is something that I'm suggesting so that we can even, move on to conclude as well. Inquiry based learning is the foundation of Skillgogy, and all these are equal. I mean, there's no vertical rating here, they're all at the same level. Contextual relevance is there here. Whenever you make your lessons of English as a foreign language, English as a language, foreign, second, third, English as a job language or something, technology integration is quite critical to it, must happen. Immersive learning should be given, immersive in with technology or without technology, but they need to get it. Micro learning is something that I'm talking here. Not 30 minutes, 10 minutes attention span. Create a micro learning. There used to be micro lessons. I remember. So skill assessment metrics should be there, and skill assessment metrics should be developed mutually, in which the student is also able to know themselves. Kahoot, quizzes, and such things already tell them. AI also is being used in assessments these days. Role play should be part of it. I'm not adding storytelling because that's by default part of it. A blended and flipped learning approach should be there. You cannot have blended and flipped learning created by you because you cannot do it anymore. It is there. So the approach should be there. Approach means my approach is to help people. They need help or not is the question. So the approach is there. When required, you go blended and flipped. If not required, you keep maybe giving them inquiry based learning and all this. So this is what I have given. One thing I did not read, which needs attention: learners autonomy and guidance balance. I said help. Someone doesn't need help. I go and I take the person by this neck. I want to help you. So you have to take help. They say, I don't need help. So the learner should have an autonomy. Autonomy doesn't mean freedom, ladies and gentlemen. Please remember, autonomy is that you allow them to walk. It is like, a kid of maybe 1 year, 2 years starts walking. You help them, you leave them. They are walking, and suddenly you hold them when they're falling. I consider autonomy as that, but not dependence. I mean, still, my definition is a more a literary one than a technical one, and guidance balance should also be there. I mean, kindly do not micromanage your students when you teach language. In sciences, it is easy to interrupt if they are stuck. In languages, if they're stuck, don't try to be a messiah. Don't help them. Let them fall. Let them have pressure on the mind. The reason is the more the stress level is, more the performance level will be in a particular context. I'm not saying stress is anyway welcome in anyone's life, but still, learners should have an autonomy under Skillgogy. It is there, not in pedagogy. It was suggested in andragogy, but still, we try to control everyone. So this is the component setup, and we quickly move on to the Skillgogy components, features, and the process components. This slide, I wish I can just keep it for you to maybe for a quick reading. The components we already have. There should be a feedback ecosystem if I talk about it. There should be skill integration in everything that you do. This iterative improvement is repeated improvement should keep on happening. I mean, there should be no stop. You should keep on recurring things. There should be an improvement. Repeated improvement should keep on happening. And if I talk about this very interesting feature of Skillgogy, personalized learning pathways should be there. A student of yours, wherever it is, I mean, we are talking about from kindergarten till the last day of learning in our life. if you feel that the learner of your language that you're teaching, the language you're teaching, or any other subject that you're teaching, it should be personalized, because the assignments can also be, chat gpt is also there, fine, or any gpt you can use. You can create 20 assignment statements also, and you can give it to them. I mean, that freedom is there if you want to save time, but still, if I'm good in story writing, I mean, ideally, I should be good in every way, but I should get something which allows me to master this particular learning pathway, which is story writing. Someone is good in maybe presentation skills, they get that kind of assignment. I mean, one skill should be perfected, not per se. I mean, not exactly you that way, but still somehow the planning that we do should give that scope, that a skill that the student is showing, we should allow it to get nurtured, we should allow it to be on the safe level, and then we insist on the second one that is required. Mentorship and facilitation is a part of Skillgogy for EFL. We are talking about customized skill modules. The curriculum, the syllabus of your language that you're teaching under Skillgogy, under education through social media, should be very dynamic. If you want to change a curriculum or a plan tonight and tomorrow you want some modification, that much freedom in language must be there. The worst part I have seen in the curriculum of languages is that we are still teaching at some places something which is completely obsolete. So the curriculum of languages, particularly English, it cannot wait even for 1 week. So the dynamic nature is required. So integration of social media, I stated to you, blogs, podcasts, YouTube presentations, gamification through Kahoot or quizzes, using Canva, using LinkedIn, using Facebook, using Instagram, not using TikTok and Snapchat and any other application which has a label of making people deviate, but using every possible tool, even OpenAI or any other tool which is there, to create engaging kind of learning interaction with the students should be there. This is what I have done. If you go for social media and education or EduSoMedia model, everything is available on internet. Just one example, the first one I'm showing you is a learning town hall at the American University of Technology where I teach. I recorded something with the mobile phone. I went to everyone and I said, okay, you speak for it. And they spoke. And then I came, used Audacity, which is free and open source software, edited the podcast, placed it, got distributed, went to Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, Yandex Music, and everywhere. I recorded public speaking with the school children who came for a winter camp. And the third example, Eklavya and Mantavya, both my sons, they have a podcast. Now they also started using it. I have used it on a 3-year-old child, the same kind of Skillgogy, where you expose them, keeping them around you into something, and then suddenly you give them an assignment, but you try to, try to make it easy for them the way they can grow. Or you talk to higher education, or you talk to school children. All three examples I have given. The fourth space, which is not filled here, is because I didn't put the screenshot of my own podcast, which is Learning Radio, which is Teacher Parv, which is Japan Casting, which is Sahitya Radio, and some other podcasts also. I learned English. I improved English because Indians have a very peculiar way of learning English. We learn English in our native language. Then we go to work, their English is the only way, so we speak English. I mean, till my master's, I remember in our classroom, we'll be using the grammar translation method, being bilingual. Then I moved on to work in Delhi, Noida, which is the national capital region for India. I started teaching in English because there was no other choice, because the students were from different places. You learn by moving on to different situations. I mean, if the problem is there, then you'll find a solution. So teaching, understanding. Wonderful video on YouTube, recommended to you, not to be played here. So this is the word play. I mean, this is such a nice, interesting heading. I mean, teaching, understanding. So the verb and noun game is quite interesting. Over to all of you to watch it later. So teaching, understanding. So I better understand what I try to make you understand. These are two images which are lost. Ah, they are here. Fine. They're not coming here, but they are here, so I can present them. Then I move on to, that was the last slide. Yes, that's the last one. So over to all of you, which slide you want me to bring? Yes. Yep. Thank you. I checked whether you are there and still nodding, Nabia, because sometimes what happens is online that in your confidence you keep on speaking, and when the images did not load, I thought, my God, internet was gone, and I kept on speaking for maybe 20 minutes. But then I expanded the Zoom thumbnail bar, so you are there,
It's
and that's
absolutely fine.
thank you. Yeah, from my
Thank
side,
you.
I'm done. But any discussion, any questions, if there are in the plan, like, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Absolutely amazing. I love the idea. I love your energy. And and the fact that Skillgogy is exactly what you're doing. And you're right. And you've been doing it for a long time, which is developing different skills. I think that ever since we started using the internet for teaching, that's when we started this
Yep,
Skillgogy. I was
true.
giving a class today on Moodle to teachers, and I discussed the URL because URLs are very important. There's a lot of information there, and if you're teaching in Moodle, you need to go into the browser window and
Mhm.
check the URLs, and if you're going to share them and so on, because every page has a URL. So the fact that I was talking about the URLs, I explained how this is important in life, not just for teachers, but for students, because that's how we can protect ourselves by checking the URLs. For example, if we get emails with certain URLs, we might not want to click on them if we see that
Mhm.
they have, all kinds of garbage, so-called garbage, all kinds of spam language on them. And if we click on them, that's it. So, this is part of Skillgogy. It's learning through teaching, through learning what we're teaching, and understanding. And I think that the way you put it at the end, that we're teaching, and we're understanding, and the whole concept of going beyond you know, whatever we're doing, we're actually learning. And that's
Mhm.
why pedagogy, which I never liked, I always felt like, it's kind of baby learning. Peda,
Yeah.
from babies, it's for young learners. And then androgyny, which is ridiculous. What is it? Adult learning? Isn't learning just learning?
Yes.
And doesn't it happen? Of course, it happens beyond the classroom. I mean, as a student, whether from junior high up, I never learned in the classroom, except, social. I learned about social activities, like, talking to my friends, making friends. And, that's what it was about. It wasn't about, what we learned in class, the information you got from somewhere else anyways. So, it's not about, anything related to school. It's about anything and everything related to learning, which are skills. We are learning skills. We're not learning, um, something static.
Yep. True.
Nothing is static that we
True.
learn.
Very, very good. I mean, what you have said is exactly like we need to talk about, and it's not about like your age or my age, but we are trained at different places, different part of the world, but we do know that anything good that was happening was actually skills. I mean, you cannot be so rigid about learning that you make it Endra or Peda or something, but still Skillgogy is not a methodology. I mean, it's an approach that has always been there, but we never named it probably.
We didn't name it because we're still in the process.
Yeah,
We're
transition.
we're we're in the process of learning, and I'm trying to get rid of my
Mm.
background. Yeah, we're constantly learning. So, we never bothered to stop and say, well, it's dynamic. So how can we label something that's moving? What are we going to go into physics and try to name a movement? What is this as it moves? So I think that we never stop
Yeah,
to think about what to call something that's constantly moving, because we don't know what it is, do we? And
true.
you labeled it, which is wonderful.
Credit to you. You mentioned it. I mean, you
I
said that.
never, when did
I
I ever?
It was just a small thing. I mentioned it in what I'll share that presentation with you also.
Really?
It was just on one slide. I randomly mentioned it. I don't know how it came. You know, it's a good idea. So I said, I mean, that was one more than 1 year ago. I mean, that was not recent.
No, not that I don't remember it. I just, it might have been something I said, but did you actually mention the word? Did you
I did.
mention it? You
I
did?
had, and even I may be mistaken, but it did happen in one of the events and the conferences. Not if this or otherwise connecting online or something, but
Mhm.
it was there something in this kind of collaborative unit that you have created. So something around you.
Well, I think that in general, we are constantly, and you're right about the discussions, we are constantly exposing ourselves and discussing different things with others so that we are, you don't know where, okay, this started with Praveen, and then this is from Nelly, and this is from Ramesh, and this is from this person, and we don't know where it starts,
Hmm.
where it ends. It's all interconnected because we are, as
True.
humans, I think that, and it doesn't matter whether you come from India, or you come from Canada, or you come from, I don't know where Nigeria or
Mhm.
Lebanon, or who knows where. It doesn't matter. As humans, we learn in the same way,
Yes,
regardless of our cultures.
true.
So, we have the same brain. I mean, it functions in the same way.
In the same way.
So
Yeah.
is it it's not surprising that we're, learning from one another. And it's beyond, anything that man, as my daughter used to say, it's not man-made. You
Hmm.
know, we're we made this up. We made these words up to kind of limit ourselves.
Yeah.
We have a tendency, and I think in the academia there's a tendency to limit. Let's give it a name and limit it so it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't change. And then, oh no, it changed. So now we have to think there's higher education. So we have to think of N, the A, it's no longer the P, it's the
True.
A word now.
Mm.
But it's skills. That's exactly what it is. And I think you're brilliant for coming up with this. And I hope that this gets beyond, that everybody passes this on, because I think it's perfect. I prefer this word to any other word that's been made up by, I don't know whoever made it up. Was it Piaget who made up the pedagogy? Did he make up that word? Was it? I don't remember. I'll have to look it up in
It's
ChatGPT.
it's better not to
Remind
remember,
me.
maybe. Like we
No,
want
no,
to
I don't have
forget
to
better.
remember it. I have ChatGPT now. I don't even.
Yeah.
I
So,
can talk to the AI bot later on and ask.
mm,
But that's it. And I think that with AI, just to get some more ideas for people, with AI bots like ChatGPT, more than any other right now, I think that we will be learning even more. I know I'm learning so
yeah,
much more than I
true.
did, with the internet, when the internet came, or when Google search engine came. Now it's like it's amazing and so fast. There's less on the fingers. It's more, in talking, having conversations. And I think you hit that as well when you mentioned that talking about it.
Mm. I mean, I would not say that when I say self-talking, it does include when you try to chat with any bot.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it does. It does.
exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. And because it's not a real person, and
Yeah,
yet you're asking questions, and
yeah.
you're learning so fast. And it's not hallucinating as it used to, way back.
Mm, true.
Um, it's now getting all the information that's out there. But that's another story, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
another skill we'll have to develop to
Another
know,
skill, another domain, maybe another world. Like AI does have questions.
you mean to ask us,
It,
but we
I
have
mean,
to feed
AI
it.
is under a scanner. I mean, I see it like when teachers, ultimately, we are accepting AI now. Like we did question it in the beginning, like the calculator was questioned, but now we know it. I mean, it's part of us. Like,
not everybody. You know, people who don't know it are still debating whether it's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you so much, Nabiha. You can close the session. You opened it up so beautifully.
Can we have this one last question from
Yes,
one
please.
of our participants here, who is asking what simple tools can we deploy in teaching, especially in developing countries where resources are scarce?
Mm. Okay, this question, like maybe if I'll say that if someone goes to Dr. Nelly's YouTube channel, all the resources are some which are sustainable resources, like, so I would not advise, but I'll just take your hand in a virtual way and make you go click on the videos and look at her channel, look at, I mean, the list of these things, go to integration technology, the Moodle courses also, so the things are available. So I will say it's better to refer to it because there's no small list of it, all good resources, easy to access, and then which are maybe self-driven resources. You don't need someone else to be your tutor. You can learn and use them. So her YouTube channel will be the fine place for that.
I would suggest going to YouTube channel. I mean, to YouTube in general. There are a lot of things there, but I would go to ChatGPT 4.0, which is completely free, and everything is there. I mean, you can access, even in developing countries, I believe ChatGPT is available.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
So we don't need teachers anymore. Is that correct?
Hmm.
Maybe not in the near future, but who knows what's going to happen later on. We
No, I
still
think
need them now.
no. I mean, for information, we don't. Teachers don't need to. I mean, I think Parveen also mentioned that we are facilitators, so
Yeah,
teachers never had to be the experts.
right.
Yeah.
Everybody can bring something to the table. So
And
yes, this was the first Tech Talks for 2025. We have another one coming in February. So we're looking forward to seeing you there. Parveen, you're also welcome to join. It's going to be about
sure.
an AI tool. So
Hmm.
please join us. So thank you. And thank you, Nabiha and Parveen and everyone for joining us today. Have
Thank
a
you.
great rest of the week. And
You too. Thank you so much.
bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank
Nabia,
you so
for
much,
managing it
Parveen.
so
Thank
well.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.